Good evening. Another weekend of Scottish football is in the bag. Probably only right in this season of all seasons. It's been absolutely mental, hasn't it? That a 43-year-old stole the headlines, and it's a 73-year-old who's rejuvenated Celtic. Age is just a number, guys. 40s when life starts. We'll all take that in this show. I'll tell you that right now. We're delighted with that. Welcome indeed to the Scottish Football Social Club. We are live on X and YouTube. Again, so many questions, points of view being sent in last week. Keep them up this time round. We'll try and get them on screen. I'll try to put the questions you send in to Alan and Michael throughout the programme. A wee reminder, the Scottish Football Social Club is brought to you in association with SBK and Premier Sports. SBK, a betting app that cuts out the nonsense. Just straight up sports betting for folk who actually care about the game. Proper odds, no gimmicks. Michael, you'll be delighted this week getting into this show. Another victory for the Jambos. On course for the title, Michael. The title that you don't think they can win.
When did I say that?
Well, you all season long, Al. Still
especially now Rangers are breathing down their neck. Do you know what I mean? Rangers into second, 3 points behind them. Do you know what? The title race is well and truly on.
So you're
getting a little bit more excited, Michael.
For Rangers then?
So I'm just saying that it's very tight. That's all I'm saying.
He's waited patiently for his chance, Michael.
Darrell, I've been battered from pillar to post from the start of the season. So it's only right that when there's good momentum that I bring it up. That's all I'm doing. Just pointing out.
Momentum. That's absolutely true, Alan. And we will get to that. Don't you worry. Michael, I've got a feeling there could be some more VAR chat in the show this weekend. And I hate to do it, to be honest, but sometimes it just needs to be done. But yeah, maybe a few question marks over decisions, and a few they got right, to be fair to them. So we'll get to them game by game. Michael, let's get right into it. So much to get through again. Transfers happening, it seems, even tonight. Players moving between clubs. Stephen Welsh back at Celtic now, by the way, recalled. And I've just seen some quotes from Martin O'Neill in the last 5 minutes, which we'll talk about as the show goes on as well. So let's get to the action. Let's start with Hibs Motherwell, some of the Saturday games. Michael, 1-1 in the end. Two teams who can be really good to watch at times, especially Motherwell. Was it a kind of fair result in the end, do you think? I think maybe the Steelmen had the better chances as the game went on.
I think it was a fair result in the end. I'm not so sure about who had better chances. I just think overall it was a slow burner in the first half. Without it being a bad game, it just the expectations were pretty high because two very good teams. And I think it just obviously speaks to the fact that it's such an interesting season that Motherwell v Hibs, you're looking at, and everybody was looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I was at the game, and honestly, I stopped and spoke to about 3 or 4 folk walking into the stadium. There was a police officer who was a Hearts fan that was like, "What do you think?" There was genuine interest between these two teams, and two really good goals from Maswanisi and from Kieran Bowie.
That's a hell of a take, that one, isn't it?
Yes, I mean,
was it, mate?
The next point. I'm not sure, but he pulled it off. It was a brilliant end to the game, because the second half really came to life, and in the end, I think probably a draw was a fair result. But I've said it a number of times already, and I'll repeat it. These two teams are going to have a big say in regards to where the title ends up, because if you look at, Alan's just touched on it. I think he's spot on. Look, it's tight. The top of the table is tight, and I don't see at this moment in time anybody running away with it to the point where, come the split, it's a foregone conclusion. So when you get post-split, you're looking at, and I think the top 5 will be the top 5. I don't think there's any question of that. So when you look at the likes of, as I've said, Motherwell and Hibs, after the split, I think they'll have a big part to play in regards to where this title ends up.
Yeah, a big save by Salinger towards the end of the game there, Alan. We've seen him do that a few times recently. You think in the derby as well, so important. Just on Motherwell, Jens Bertalasco as one manager of the month. Congratulations to him, rightly so. Maswanisi coming back, big positive, excellent goal, Alan. One of the talking points though is Stephen Welsh, the loss of Stephen Welsh. He's gone back to Celtic. I've just seen some quotes actually from Martin O'Neill tonight, almost kind of apologising to Stephen Welsh for calling him back, sort of saying it's because of the lack of transfers at Celtic and the lack of options he's got that he's brought him back in. So that also leaves the door open, perhaps, if business is done, for Stephen Welsh to return to Motherwell in January, which, of course, I'm sure Asco and the Motherwell fans will be hoping for. But see the way he's played this season, do you not think he could actually contribute to Celtic, Alan?
Yeah, I think he could. I think he's went out on loan. He's kind of taken that leap of faith to show everybody that he's more than capable of playing regular football at this level. He's played to a high standard, and you kind of feel for him. I mean, when you're playing regular football, to come back from your parent club, which ultimately you want to at the end of the season, show them what you've done to play there, but to get called back early because you're needed, which you do understand, but it's going to be difficult still probably to break into that team. You might get an opportunity, you might not. So you're hoping that if Celtic do get reinforcements in, they can go back to Motherwell and continue on that good work that he's shown so far.
He's obviously strongly been linked with Aberdeen as well, Michael, just to say. But I can't imagine that can happen, because surely, unless Lutz Pfannenstiel really wants to bring him in, you'd imagine the new manager would have to be done first.
Well, look, there's a couple of things on that, obviously. I think I'd read somewhere that there was a clause, but they had to activate it by the 14th of January. I'm not sure if that was...
Yeah, I read that as well, to be fair.
Or not. And then also, it then falls into the category of, is Trusty fit? Because it looked like he pulled up perhaps at the end of the Dundee United game. And if that's the case, does Stephen Welsh, if he plays for Celtic in this window, his only option is to either go back to Motherwell or stay at Celtic.
Yes.
Because obviously you can only play for the two teams in the one season. So there's quite a few sort of moving parts here. Definitely feel for Stephen Welsh. I think he's shown that he's capable. It's all about momentum. If he gets his opportunity in this Celtic side in the next couple of weeks and performs well, we've seen what happened with Liam Scales. He went out to Aberdeen, did relatively well, came back, and it looked like he was going to sign permanently for Aberdeen, and all of a sudden he got a chance, and now he's a first-team regular. So I wouldn't write him off completely, by the way, at Celtic. I think he's got the quality to...
He's in a better situation now, Mikey, if you think about it. For playing regular football instead of just coming from the cold into the team and then you're not maybe ready. He's in a right kind of frame of mind.
And by the way, Stephen McManus is there in the background too, and he'll know Stephen Welsh so well. So if anyone's going to be able to reintegrate him into the team and get the best out of him, why not?
I think what's key here is that if he needs to get a chance quickly. You know, if it dissipates and it sort of a prolonged sort of period of a couple of weeks, it's amazing how quickly he could slip back into that sort of frustrated mindset and feeling like he's not going to get a chance at Celtic. But if it happens in the next week or two, it's all up to him to go and grab his opportunity and build on the momentum that he's built up at Motherwell. Two things. Motherwell and Jens Bertrascu deserve great credit because they've taken a hold of this player and they have propelled them.
There's the immediate chance, by the way, for Stephen Welsh. And I mean immediately. That game's live, of course, with us in a couple of nights, Falkirk v Celtic. Yeah.
And again, it falls back to what I was just saying about with Trusty. Yeah. Is he fit? Because, there might be a question mark as to, whether he is fit or not. And that may well be the reason that that Martin O'Neill has activated the clause to bring him back. Time will tell on that. Yeah.
Just on Hibs then, David Gray sort of said he was a little bit concerned by the opportunities they were giving up on transition. But then, anyone's watched Motherwell this season, Alan, would say they've done that to a heck of a lot of teams, to be fair. Exactly. They did have some good opportunities in the end. But the big talking point, and apparently there's a lot of comments coming in tonight as well about Kieran Bowie and his future. Teams asking to be notified if any transfers.
What teams?
Well, listen, as you know, he's been linked with Celtic. He's been linked with Rangers. More importantly, perhaps for the type of money that Hibs would want to let him leave now.
What are they talking? 6.5 million? Round about that? What is it?
That was a figure thrown around. So here's two questions, because the points are coming in tonight. First of all, do you think that Hibs will be able to keep him in this window, Alan?
Well, it depends if the money's there on the table. If they get an offer that's acceptable, if it's 6.5, 7, whatever it may be, then it's going to test the resolve, isn't it? But I don't think they'll want him to go. They'll want to keep him at least to the summer. I mean, He's pivotal.
Imagine he goes to the World Cup, by the way, Alan, and he plays.
Exactly.
And he does, the value just goes up and up.
And then it doubles. Exactly. It goes there and has a good World Cup, and then you never know after that. But look, I think it all comes down to is somebody willing to spend that cash and put it in front of them and test and see what they're all about. If that happens, whether it be Rangers or Celtic or somebody from down south, then we'll have to wait and see. But the thought that I have is it's the last thing on David Gray's mind that he wants a player of that stature to leave, especially when he's kind of scoring goals now. He's a focal point. They need him. I think he's a big part of what they do. So, of course, he doesn't want him to leave, but let's see if the money gets put down on the table.
Alan, just with your Rangers hat on for a moment then, would you love to see him at Ibrox?
I would, yeah. Yeah, I would. I think it's a no-brainer for me. Yes, yeah, of course. And not only that, his age, I think he's going to improve. He'll get better as the seasons goes on. We know he's a goal scorer. I think he's got all the attributes to get to the next level, in my opinion. We spoke about him at the start of the season, how he should be playing with Scotland and everything that went along with that. So, look, I think he's better than what Rangers have at the moment.
What would be the most likely destination, do you think, Michael? And by the way, do you think Hibs will keep him for now?
I'd be astonished if Hibs sell him in January. And again, I suppose it comes back to what Alan's saying about, if somebody was to reach that number, then it poses the question. But my advice to Kieran Bowie right now would be, there's no rush. There's no rush to get out that door. He's starting to find a wee bit of form again. And I think that even next season, I'm looking at Kieran Bowie and I think the best thing he could do personally for his career would be to stay at Hibs for the next 18 months. Get to this stage next year and then realistically start talking about what's he looking to do. Because this is a Hibs side that are very good. That they're a very good side, and he is a real part of that. And I don't think there's a desperate urge or need for him to look to potentially go and take another step just yet.
Also, Michael, just to say on that, if he does go, let's say he does move, and you go down south, if it doesn't happen for you right away, it's likely you're going to a club who needs a striker. So you're going to get a chance to play. If it doesn't happen right away, you end up not playing. That could cost him a World Cup chance. There's an awful lot on the line for him right now.
Well, I mean, obviously, going down south is a different kettle of fish as well, because they could throw around that money just as a punt, So they might not be looking upon it as, we're desperate for a striker right now. They might just be doing it as all right, there's a wee bit of interest there. We want to act now because we like the player, and we'll take a punt on that.
And he's young. He's young.
Exactly. So that's where, for me,
he's also played down south before, by the way. So, it's not like he's not tasted that. He'll know.
No, I know.
Yeah.
As I said, for me, if I was advising Kieran Bowie, I would say, put it all out your mind. You're at a really good club that feels like it's moving in the right direction here. Eventually, at some point, perhaps you're going to look to move on again. But right now, why? I mean, last year was so stop-start with injuries. He's had half a season so far, which has already seen an electric start, a wee dip in performances, and he's starting to come back out of it now, which naturally happens with a youngster. I would say 18 months would be the sort of ideal window to just get your head down and concentrate on your football at Hibs. So I would be very surprised if he was to leave. I think he's a main part of that team that is a pretty good side.
I would tend to agree with that for now. Right, let's move on. Livingston against Killy. It's a game that they both needed to win and neither could afford to lose. Al, it was a draw in the end. I think really important for Neil McCann as well to get something, his first game in charge of Killy. Cabin Golo apparently still in the park. Al has still not been sent off.
He's still running about tackling every day. Right, seriously. To be fair, he gets the yellow card so early. I think that the refs went really early with the first yellow card, and you're thinking after the fouls, he's got to go. I mean, it was like, was it 2 or 3 after that?
Two that were certainly question marks you'll see here.
It was very, very questionable, and it's just rash like that. If you're getting one for the first one, that's a yellow card. And look, David Martindale, fair play to him, 10 minutes in, has recognised it and went, right, off you come, son, you come and sit down next to me. And you feel for him, but ultimately you can't be that rash or you're going to get sent off. But look, you're right. I thought it was a game that both teams would be desperate for the 3 points. 1 point you'll take, but you really need 3 to start climbing up. Thought Livingston actually played some decent football. Yeah. It's always going to be hard for Neil McCann, only 3 days working with the players, to really get the best out of them. But they showed good character. They stuck at it. They got back in the game. But we see this a lot with likes of Livingston. They've been in games, multiple games, and just ended up losing or drawing or whatever it may be. They do play some decent stuff, but I mean, you just can't help but look at these two teams and wonder if they got what it takes to stay up. And for Livingston, they should have got another penalty, in my opinion.
I don't you worry, Al. We'll see it. That is the first one for VAR talking point tonight. I mean, hopefully we can run this in, because
for me,
Brad Lyons handball is absolutely. This is absolutely astonishing. This is not the one, is it? No, this is
no.
This is not the one. Hopefully, we've got the one in the 92nd minute as well for Brad Lyons. If we don't, apologies.
And do you know what, Darrell? See, sometimes like when you're down there and it doesn't go with you, you just don't get that rub of the green, and it just felt a little bit that it's a header. Brad Lyons, I think it's instinctive almost. He actually puts his arm up,
doesn't he?
And it hits. It's a penalty. I mean, it's a penalty. No wonder David Martindale was raging and asking why it wasn't given. You'd be so frustrated. You're down the bottom. You're desperate for 3 points, and that goes against you. I feel for him, but one each probably about right.
Do you know what's crazy about it as well?
I don't think we can see it, unfortunately, tonight. But anyway, go on, Michael.
The same player was penalised at Pittodrie for an utterly outrageous, handball, when it should never have been given. And we've seen this quite a few times now. Same referees or same players that one incident they're being penalised for, and then a couple of weeks later they're getting away with it, or vice versa. And it feels like they're constantly getting the wrong decisions. That the decision at Pittodrie to penalise Brad Lyon when the ball's headed at him from probably a foot away, and you're just going, how can you do that? And then you look at that one at Livingston, and I've got to say, it looks very much like it should have been given. So, 2 wrongs.
It's nailed on, Michael. It's nailed on.
That's what I'm saying. But, it's crazy. 2 wrongs do not make a right. And yet again, we're talking about the officiating. And, okay, on the park, referees are going to make mistakes. But what is the point in VAR if they are not there to pick up on these mistakes and rectify them? Keep going back to it. Clubs are paying hundreds of thousands of pounds to obliterate the experience of supporters and get decisions wrong.
Here it is.
It just, my thoughts on
actually.
My thoughts on handball, Darrell. I think far too often players have been penalised unjustly. That's a penalty kick.
That's as for me all day long.
You guys were talking about before. His arm comes out. Now,
it's is that the movement?
Now, is that a reflex to feeling that the ball's coming towards him? I don't know. Whatever it is.
I think this is the angle you see it most clearly.
Yes. That feels like
it's out. It's too far out. And see, when you actually see it a few times, the reaction's this. Look, whether he'd done it and it wasn't really thinking about it, he's just kind of trying to get his arms up or whatever. Yeah. Unfortunately, you can't do that, and you're always going to give away a penalty. As soon as I seen it, I was like,
but VAR are looking at that, Alan. VAR are looking at that.
No, but that's why Mikey's raging, and we all are, because it's so inconsistent. I mean, you take Livy for an example at Ibrox against Rangers. Fernandes, his hands out, bang, penalty. No, right. So it's simple where you pick up points there. You could have got 3 points there, and you're looking at it thinking we're in a different situation here. So as Mikey says, you're paying a lot of money for this to be installed, and you're not getting the correct result ultimately, and it's costing you.
Yeah. Scott Arfield has joined Livy. You'd imagine that'd be a really good addition for them, good experience coming in this time of the season. I mentioned Neil McCann, Michael, and I think just the importance of getting something from the first game, only because I saw some of the comments coming from the Kilmarnock fans. They didn't seem overly pleased, overly excited by the appointment. So I think it's so key that you go in and you make a decent start. And I know he would have wanted more, but it looks like right away he's trying to reshape the squad. Just news tonight, I'm just seeing apparently they're trying to land Finlay Curtis from Rangers and Alan Forrest as well in this window. Maybe those would be good additions.
Well, I think it shows you what he's looking for is white men. You know, they don't really have any at the moment. Armstrong leaving in the summer. The squad has definitely been shaped in a different way. So I think it's clear that, you know, Neil and Billy Dodds are looking to recruit the wide men to get that little bit of creativity in those positions. That was a huge game. I mean, talk about, you know, being thrown into the fire, because a genuine 6-pointer at the bottom of the table.
Yeah.
If you come away from that losing when there's a little bit of negativity there to begin with, it's very, very tough. So being able to come away with a point, it just sort of gives them an opportunity to breathe and try to, as you said, bring in a few players, adjust the squad. It's a big task. It's a real big task, because Livy and Kilmarnock, they still feel that they're the two teams that are going to be scrapping it out there at the bottom, and that's a tough job for Neil McCann and Billy Dodds to go in there and, you know, forget about automatic relegation. They want to try and, you would think, even get themselves away from the playoff spot, and that's going to be difficult. That's going to be difficult.
Absolutely. Just briefly, Alan, I know you've got a Killy fan in the family, don't you? So what's the feeling, do you think, from them at the moment and on the sort of new managerial team and their chances?
Well, if I'm going to be totally honest, he's been very negative recently in recent weeks, if I'm totally honest. He thought Nielsen would possibly get the job. That's who a lot of him and his friends were kind of backing. I don't know why, I never asked him, but he's been a little bit negative. I'm trying to kind of G him up, saying don't worry about it, the wins will come and what have you if you get a few additions in. But look, he's always going to back them, so we'll just see how it plays out.
Yeah, some important games to come, that's for sure. Right, onwards we go now. There you go. We all love Scottish football.
St Mirren this season.
Listen, all the time, but this season, the maddest of all seasons.
Look how chumpy he is, though. He's like changed.
I've waited months for this. I've been getting battered for months.
Never seen enthusiasm like this from Alan, by the way, ever. Right, onwards. St Mirren against Falkirk. First of all, on the Bairns, what a victory again. I know St Mirren, Michael, riddled with injuries, and they lost players during the game as well. Tough point of the season for Stephen Robinson after the highs of winning the cup. Obviously not ideal at the moment, and maybe they're just looking over their shoulder. But just on Falkirk, another excellent victory. What a place they're on the league table.
I mean, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant for them to be sitting in the top 6 and going away to St Mirren and picking up another 3 points. I mean, the momentum is just building nicely for Falkirk to a certain extent, floating under the radar. Because, I mean, look, they're still getting credit and getting compliments and accolades thrown their way. But I think the top 5 have taken so much attention that a little bit Falkirk are just flying under the radar, and they're doing an incredibly good job. Two good goals. Got to say, Calvin Miller doing really well. Shamal George for the first one. There's no need for them to come charging out. But, you know, a couple of things for me. Stephen Robinson spoke about this before when all these decisions were going against them.
Yeah.
And I know you can easily sort of say, well, you know, they just need to buckle down and sort it out. But it's amazing how momentum goes in one direction or another. And they had such a cluster of horrendous decisions going against them that it starts to build its own narrative. You forget about the decisions and you start thinking, oh, well, they've lost all these games. They're dropping all these points. And then they start picking up some injuries. And all of a sudden, the season feels like it's taken on a dynamic that's difficult to turn around. And a large part of that, it's not to say that the manager or the players get a pass and it doesn't matter what they're doing. But a large part of this was horrendous officiating and VAR decisions, which have played a part in painting the picture of St Mirren's season so far.
Yeah.
And I feel for them. Having said all that, there's nothing they can do about it now, and they do have to try and turn things around and quickly. Yeah. Otherwise, it does feel like they'll start to drift in a dangerous position.
And I do think that a lot of that rests on how long the players are out for, because I think it was it Phillips and Donnelly off at the weekend. Obviously, Shamal George came off injured as well, so that just adds to the list of really important players out as well. By the way, joining the likes of Ayunga and Bacchus and others who are already missing for now. Alan Campbell has joined, so they're trying. I think they've recalled a player from is it Ocean Smith as well tonight from Partick Thistle. Yeah, it has been recalled as well. So they're obviously just trying to get players back in at the moment, because they've got a massive game midweek. I mean, from Hearts' point of view, probably a good time to be playing St Mirren. But the Saints, they have beaten Hearts in the Cup this season, Michael. So, why not get started again there? But it's a big, big ask at the moment, isn't it, for them?
Yeah, I mean, I like Ocean Smith. I think he's a good player. I genuinely do. He's been doing really well at Partick Thistle as well. But it feels very much sort of like the Stephen Welsh recall, in terms of they're struggling injury wise, and they're having to make sure they've got appropriate cover. So Wednesday night, the game's just
two massive games. Pressure. You must win. 2 games where you must win.
Look at Alan. He could just sit back this week.
You know what I mean, Darrell? The points are on the board. Sometimes it's just nice to have the points on the board. This is a big night.
Oh, you're going to love this, aren't you, on Wednesday?
Oh, I can't wait.
They come thick and fast, the games, and for Hearts at home against St Mirren, it feels like, and they've got to be careful of this, of course, is that it feels like at home against St Mirren, they're not, a team that are not doing particularly well, that they should be able to win that game. But they just need to make sure that they perform and pick up the 3 points. The last 2 games, and I know we'll get on to the Hearts game against Dundee, but the last 2 games have shown a different side to Hearts. They've ground out results, and that's not a bad thing. Geez, I mean, we've seen Rangers over a period of time not performing particularly well, but picking up 3 points, and it shows you how it builds momentum and then builds belief. Hearts are obviously coming from a stronger position than Rangers were in regards to already being up the table. But if they can continue to just pick up the 3 points, irrespective of performance level, it's going to continue to keep them in a good position, because eventually the performances, you would imagine, will start to come as well.
Yes. Well, we'll see. It's a huge game, huge night, of course, including the live game on Premier Sports, Falkirk against Celtic. I'm sure you guys will be there. Let's move on to Celtic now then. Martin O'Neill back in. Alan, we spoke last week. It was just about to happen, actually, as the show was on. We were assuming, we kind of had some information that, of course, the deal was about to go through. He was going to be back at Celtic Park. I mean, the feel-good factor just seems to be back. And I know Dundee United didn't do much in the game. There's another talking point, an instant in this one we'll get to as well. But Celtic were very good, Alan. They created a lot.
Darrell, it doesn't take Pep Guardiola to see that Celtic function better with 4-3-3, or however you want to put out 4 at the back. I mean, he's went in there, he's reverted back to what he knows, what the team know, and right away they look so much more comfortable. They're getting overloads out wide. That defensively they're solid enough, and they're getting back to winning ways. A clean sheet. They conceded 18 goals in the games that Nonce was there. I mean,
under Nonce, it just felt like that one would have gone in.
It would have. It probably would have. I mean, I felt for Dundee United a little bit, because you think, how's your luck? Jim Goodwin going there, Celtic Park. You need a little bit of luck. Martin O'Neill comes back in, reverts back to type. Rahul should have been off for this. This is a red card for me. Dangerous, late, over-aggressive. And he plays like that. This probably won't be the first that he's involved in. That's the type of player. Yeah. But I just think that Martin O'Neill just went in there, simplified everything like he did the first time around, and they look so much more comfortable. The movement's there, the overloads are there, they're getting balls into the box, good finishes. If they had a proper striker, they would have scored a barrel load as well. To be quite honest with you.
You know what it'll be like? See, as soon as the players realised that Wilfried Nonce was leaving and Martin O'Neill was coming back, it literally would have just been like, wait, gone.
Yeah.
And they would have just felt so much better about themselves.
Yeah. And it's I was saying to Mikey before, see, as a player, when a new manager comes in, players are clever this way. They can suss managers out instantly. First couple of team meetings, first couple of training sessions, and everything that you hear, whether it be rumour or fact or whatever, that something wasn't right. It wasn't great within there. And you can just tell he leaves, Mikey's spot on. All of a sudden, it's like, okay, I can actually run now. We're in the formation that suits us. We're all confident. And then you go and get a clean sheet, score 4 goals.
Do you know who
it could have been more.
Do you know who I thought was like just, and it's been a difficult season for a number of reasons, but there's been little flashes. I thought Kieran Tierney was back to, just
superb.
Even McGregor in midfield.
Yeah.
Running things
and
again.
Scales look comfortable again.
I know, but what I mean is, all those guys, there's the contrast between the Wilfred Nancy time and Martin Neal coming back. I get that, but for Kieran Tierney as well, because all the other issues that have obviously surrounded his career, and I just thought his performance against Dundee United was a little bit more reminiscent of Kieran Tierney of old. Looking athletic, bombing forward, setting up goals. I think the first 2 goals came from him, and just from a footballing perspective, it's great to see Kieran Tierney looking like Kieran Tierney. And, we can talk about the whole other dynamic of Martin O'Neill, Wilfred Nancy. Celtic, I said it before, the longer they left Nancy in charge, the more self-harm and the more difficult their position was going to be in regards to the league. Martin O'Neill coming back in is a huge positive, but I think we all recognise the squad, as Alan just spoke about, is still lacking. It's still lacking.
And Kyogo's a no-go, it seems like, anyway, Michael. So, but the striker, you imagine, will arrive eventually. But I just go back to that Martin O'Neill interview. I think Celtic TV have aired that tonight. You can definitely tell when he talks about Stephen Welsh and others that there is a bit of frustration that deals haven't been done. Look, Rangers are doing business. Hearts have got business done very early in this window, and it feels like there's more to come. I know the Celtic board very much are under pressure anyway, Michael, but I think now, because of all of that, the importance of landing the right players here, it feels almost a bit like it's make or break for the board.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt. But I mean, look, that, there is no question of that. But see, just like, you're saying, oh, no doubt they'll bring in a striker. It feels a bit like Groundhog Day here.
Yeah.
We thought this in the summer. Brendan Rodgers is, trying to get the message out there. Some can say that he went overboard or he didn't. The fact is that as the window was, coming to a close, everybody was just anticipating, deal's going to get done. It didn't. It didn't get done. And Ian Atchell comes in after the window because of his connection with Brendan Rodgers. So Paul Tisdale's been shown the door. Wilfred Nancy's gone. We know how this world works. The rumours about Kyogo, there's no smoke without fire there. There are no other rumours at the moment. So that, the Celtic board better hope that they're able to pull a rabbit out of a hat. Otherwise,
could you imagine if they don't?
Oh my word!
Strongly linked with a striker in France as well. Is it Bamba? I think I saw the name.
But they need to come in and hit the ground running as well. But they need to come in and do well.
Yeah, that's the next point I was going to say, Hutz. Forget about just bringing somebody in. They've got to come in and actually have an impact. Because if they bring somebody in and they don't, like Shin Yamada came in the summer, he's not done anything. If they do something else like this, it's only going to fuel the fire even more of that discontent amongst the support of what's the recruitment team doing? What's the board doing? And I go back to this.
You can't take any risks. I don't think you can take it. I just think, see, somebody, if they got somebody in that the fans recognise, they maybe know, they've got experience of scoring, maybe in different leagues, whatever. That's kind of what they're looking for. Not a project player that, all right, hopefully he can score a few goals and get better as the season goes on or whatever. It's about coming in right now and making them better at this moment in time. Or it's just going to be even more toxic, you feel.
And it didn't, Michael, it didn't stand out against Dundee United, but it's not to say it won't against Falkirk. And by the way, games keep on coming. Bologna's just round the corner as well. That's a huge European game with their campaign on the line too, pretty much.
Hearts away.
Hearts away round the corner. I know, huge games to come.
In the league.
Somebody's going to have to drop points.
So, towards the end of the window. But if you think about, like, I was saying this before, Wilfred Nancy was in charge at the start of the window, right? They had Rangers on the 3rd of January. Where was the striker lined up for the first? Doesn't matter what system you play. Celtic have needed a striker for a year. And 1st of January to get the guy in the building so that he's ready to play against Rangers on the 3rd of January. Tisdale was in position. Nancy was in position. Where was he? Nowhere to be seen. So I've got serious concerns for Celtic in regards to what have they actually done over the last 4 months since the last window to line up and get things in place. Now, Tisdale's gone, Nancy's gone. Now, you're telling me that they're literally having to start from scratch? And if that's the case, who's making those decisions? How quickly are they going to get things into place? It's a serious concern, because as good as Martin O'Neill and his coaching staff are, Brendan Rodgers is a top-class manager. His coaching staff were, top class. And there was a real despondency amongst all the people connected with Celtic because of the lack of transfer activity. They need to pull a rabbit out of the hat here. Otherwise, it could derail everything for them.
Let me come back to this, Michael. Is the rabbit out the hat Kieran Bowie? I mean, would that make the Celtic fans happy, do you think? And also, do you think he's the answer for Celtic? Now, if they could go and get him at the moment, and we've already discussed that, the Hibs fans won't be happy about it. But if you pay enough money, you're going to get Kieran Bowie. So what's he worth?
Yeah, well, see, this is where the margin for error is zero. I really like Kieran Bowie, but that's what I'm saying to you. I think for his perspective, the best thing he could do would be stay where he is at Hibs, because I still think the next 18 months has got peaks and troughs while he's finding that consistency as a player. If he's to go to Celtic, there is no ability to have those peaks and troughs, because they need, as you've just said, that instant success. So, in 18 months' time, I think it may well be something that would work for everybody. At the moment, I'm not sure for either side. As Alan said, it feels like they need to try and get like a Robbie Keane on loan, like they did, previously. That type of player who can come in and actually shoulder that.
Well, see like that, Callum Wilson. Let's see, someone like that. See, that's a big name player who's played at a high level. If you can keep him fit, that guy will score goals. He's going to cause teams problems and ultimately put the ball in the back of it. That's what I was talking about. It's what Mikey's just touched on there. I feel they need someone like that.
Callum Wilson's a class act. Listen, if he's fit and he comes up to Scotland, he could do incredibly well. So we'll see what happens. Just briefly then on Dundee United, Alan, I think the fourth goal didn't look great for Richards again. Obviously need a goalkeeper. Some of the Dundee United fans weren't overly pleased by the performance as well. But as we've already said, big decisions did go against them. I think we can take a look at the Arojo challenge again. If Sturton takes the opportunity as well, maybe it's a different game. But I think they're just slightly unhappy with the way the game went overall. But this doesn't look good at all, does it?
Yeah, well, look, I think this was at 2-0. And I'm not saying it was going to change the outcome of the game if he was red carded. But for me, it definitely is. I think it ticks all the boxes for it. It's very late. It's over-aggressive. He's totally missed the ball. He's high on his ankle. I can't believe that he's not seen red for that, if I'm totally honest. But that's the type of player he is. See, if you go back and look at his previous games and that, he does play with that aggression. And it's very difficult to take that out of somebody's game and play the same way. So, look, I think we'll see this more often, if I'm totally honest.
As Alan said there, it just, for me, it beggars belief. And, I've got no interest in getting drawn into, this team had that, and that team had this, and all this sort of stuff. That incident there is another one that you look at as a fan. You just must be out, and I'm talking about as a fan away from Glasgow. There are far too often that you see big decisions going for the home sides of the two teams at Glasgow, and that to me is another one. And Darrell, I know you smark and you laugh at it.
I'm smiling because here come the Jambos.
No, but in all seriousness, fans outside.
With no free kick, take free kicks where you want.
The two teams outside the Glasgow, and I'm talking about, especially when it's in Glasgow, incidents like that happen, and fans, the length and breadth of the country will tell. It happens too often.
Well, that's
Now,
why
I
you
know
need
that-
strong referees, Michael. Doesn't matter the
Absolutely.
venue, doesn't matter the stadium, doesn't matter the
Aye.
atmosphere. That's
Take
why
all
you need.
that away.
But that's
You need-
ultimately what I'm getting at here.
Yeah.
It feels too often like the officials are not strong enough, that they are feeling the pressure. That there, when you look at it objectively, doesn't matter what team you support. Surely, to goodness, everybody can see that ticks all the boxes of.
I'd love to know what they said about it. No, it's fine. No, he's just mistimed it a little bit. It was aggressive and everything. I just had everything just screaming red card.
Well, the Cornelius one in the semi-final that's just been brought up here. To be fair, we did analyse that, and I thought that was a poor tackle. And I actually said that some of the so-called better referees, if you like, if you remember, I said a European referee, I think, was a stick on to send off Cornelius for that sort of challenge.
Darrell,
but this is consistency that we don't get.
No, exactly. I mean, look, as I said to you, I've not got any interest in going over and spilt milk. We spoke about
we
it
try and deal with everything individually, don't we? As much as we can.
And we spoke about that at the time. He was lucky, Cornelius. And Arolo there, it's the pace that he goes in with. The pace that he goes in with. He's going right into Will Ferry. It's not just from the side and like that. He goes right into him. And he's a very lucky boy. And I think any football fan, if they saw the opposition tackling one of their players like that, they would be demanding a red card.
Yeah. We've just seen some really bad decisions. And VAR have got a couple of good ones right, we should say, in there as well. But overall, not enough maybe of the major talking points have been sorted out sufficiently by the referee and VAR. And there's lack of consistency, which I think is upsetting managers that we've had on the show and a lot of football fans out there, and clearly some pundits as well. Right, come on, let's move forwards again.
Some pundits are very happy with it. Some appear to think that nothing to see. Move on.
What, on that tackle?
On just VAR in general, they seem to think that things are going quite well.
I don't believe that.
There's Alex. There's Alex. There's Alan's brother getting in touch again with a point. No, it's a point that's been made. It's a point that's been. Let's move on. I think we all thought that could have been a red card. I don't think we need to get into that sort of banter quite yet, Alan. It's still a few months of the season to go. No point. All three of us fall right. On to Dundee Hearts, the Sunday game. Right. I know Alan's already mentioned where the free kick was taken from, but Michael, just in a general point here, for Hearts to have the match the way it was, the way the game played out, for going down to 10 men for a relatively questionable decision, or was it? I don't know. I don't think you're particularly happy with the goalkeeper being sent off, but just to see that game through anyway, to keep the momentum going, sometimes that kind of win can do more for you than a 5 or 6-0 victory when you've played outstandingly. Yep,
absolutely. That's a good save there from Schwolo without it being outstanding. This is an outstanding finish, by the way, for Braga.
Brilliant.
A great finish. And from Dundee's perspective, you can understand why they're questioning where the free kick's taken from. I absolutely get that. But to be clear, VAR can't get involved in it from a restart. It's purely down to the referee at the time. VAR can't pull it back.
But they can get involved in this, Michael.
They absolutely can, and they did. I just think, seriously, they're almost coming to a standstill. So there's no momentum, there's no, malice. It's a clumsy coming together. It's a foul, absolutely no doubt about it. But Halkett's back on the goal line. McCart's almost in contact with the ball when Yogi has to go round him, and as I said, it's not a malicious, vicious tackle. So I just think there's too many mitigating circumstances for that to be a red card. And I think if it was a yellow card, there would be far less controversy and debate.
Right, I'll come back to that. Should we just marvel in a moment at the brilliance of Craig Gordon? This is This is right up there with one of the best saves I've ever seen, given the significance of the match, the moment, the season, everything, Michael.
Absolutely. Craig said himself after the game, it's probably one of the best. I mean, look.
I don't just mean Craig Gordon, by the way. I mean full stop.
No, but I'm talking about from Craig Gordon. By the way, he's had a fair few himself. I think there is no doubt it's one of Craig Gordon's best. Probably the best. And if Hearts go on to win the title, that is a save. Or even if they don't, that's a save that Hearts fans and football fans of Scottish football will be talking about in years to come, genuinely, because it is unbelievable. The low behind the goal is the best angle.
Because it's behind him.
Yes. When you everything into context, Hearts down to 10 men. They've defended admirably for this, the whole of the second half. I don't think that was probably the first free header that a Dundee player had in the whole of the second half.
The Cometio one just before that as well, where he kind of heads over. But I agree with you. Halkett was amazing. Some of the balls into the box, the way he dealt with it.
Incredible. And, for Craig Gordon at 43 to pull off a save like that when he's not been playing, it's his first league game of the season.
Yeah.
I just think it's utterly...
But Mikey, see, even when he came on, you think he's just came on for the free kick. And I know for a keeper of his quality, it was relatively easy, but just coming on cold, that could have went anywhere. And then he stays out at half time, he shows his professionalism, like he always has done, to be ready for moments like this. And then he makes that outstanding save. And see, when I seen it, I was like, that's one of the best saves I've ever seen. Yeah. But part of me, I wasn't surprised, even at his age. I've seen it throughout the years. I've played alongside him with Scotland and things, and you see him making these kind of saves. But it's definitely in his top 5, I would imagine. But
I still remember one he made years ago, by the way, in Motherwell. I don't know if you guys remember a volley, and it was a volley which he thought all day long any goalkeeper in the world's beaten, and somehow he gets it. I still remember that, and someone he made it Sunderland. But what a servant he's been to the game, considering the injuries, and at one point he wasn't sure if he was going to play again. Alan,
Celtic would probably still like to have him, if I'm totally honest. I mean, you think of when he left there and everything that goes along with that, but I just feel like that's going to be one of those games. See, when you look back at it, if they were to win the league, it's moments like that when you've dug in, got 3 points. Derek McInnes knew exactly what he was doing at half-time. Right, I'll turn it off you come. I'm putting on another centre-half at full-back. I'm going to guard what we've got. Yeah. Defensively, they defended the box immensely. I mean, they were absolutely brilliant, and they just dug in. That's a huge 3 points.
And then midway through the second half, he puts on Frankie Kent as well. 5 centre-halves at the back, recognising that this is just defend the box, see it out. And
exactly.
Ultimately, it's the result that determines whether it was the right decision or not. But boy, did Craig Gordon make sure that it was the right decision. Derek McInnes said it himself, and I think he's absolutely spot on. It feels like a really substantial result. It feels like that result is going to mean something. And
that game means something too, by the way.
That means something.
Big time. It's just an absolute joy to see, moments like that. And for it not just to mean something in the game, but for this season as a whole. It's this season has just thrown up so many storylines. It's quite incredible. And for Craig Gordon, with the World Cup potentially at the end of the campaign for him, not to be playing, he's the backup keeper at the moment because he was injured obviously at the start of the season, to come on and have a moment like that could define how this league title is won or lost.
And by the way, just to say, because we'll need to move on in a second, but just to say, he'll start again now against St Mirren. Almost certainly he'll start again. Yeah. If he plays well, Derek McInnes has got a big decision to make. But this is why you keep him. We were talking in weeks gone by, would he leave to try and get game time? He wants the Jambos to do something special this season. He wants to be part of it. Now he very much is. And maybe going into the summer as well, when you've got a guy of his experience, I don't know if he'll be Scotland's number one or not, or maybe should be, Michael, but he doesn't necessarily need to play every week to be able to do that. And I think that's what he's just shown.
He has. He's shown that. You know what I thought was absolutely brilliant as well was the clip of the bench where Paul Sheeran was showing it to Braga and Altena, and the two of them were just like, whoa, because these are guys that they won't have seen, they've obviously seen Craig in training every day, but they've not seen him in a game. And even in training, he'll pull off great saves, but to pull off a save like that in the last minute is just unbelievable.
It really was, right. Just before we got on to the final game, need to get on to Aberdeen Rangers. But just going back to Schwolov, the red card briefly. Michael, can you just explain why? I think we can look at it again. Why you think it's a yellow? And let me say this, right? So I know you're saying they're almost coming to a standstill. Almost coming to a standstill because Schwolov is out, right? And that's why he's trying to go around him. he knocks the ball. It's not a bad touch. He's going to get an opportunity to score. That's obviously what VAR think, even though there is defenders going back onto the line. So is it not a clear goal-scoring opportunity? Has he not been denied that, and therefore is that not a red? I'm trying to just play devil's advocate.
Well, that's clearly what the officials have thought.
But why don't you think it is? That's what I'm trying to get at.
Well, because, like I said to you, there are mitigating circumstances there where he's having to go away from goal. He's going at a right angle away from goal.
I think he would still get a shot off.
If he's on his feet, he would, Alan.
In my opinion, I think. I understand what you're saying.
Jamie McCart's there as well. But I'll go back.
I still think he's getting a shot before he gets there.
Well, I'll throw this out to you.
Right.
What was one of the mitigating circumstances that Willie Collum gave us to why Jack Butland wasn't sent off against Bruce Anderson's tackle against Killy? That he can't just disappear. He's in the challenge, right?
Swallow knows what he was doing there. He jumped into him to take him down.
I don't think Jack Butland's was a red card, right? But the force.
Did Butland win the ball? Is that maybe the only difference I can? No, it's
Darrell. He didn't win the ball. That was a fact that was accepted by the officials. I don't think it was a red card, but one of the arguments was that he can't just disappear and that he slid through the legs of Bruce Anderson.
Yes.
There was force in that. There is no force in
that. I agree with.
With what Swallow's done. He can't just vanish and disappear. But if
it's only about the goal scoring chance.
Wait a minute. But if you're to say that Jack Butland is allowed to charge out, not win the ball, by the way, but get a touch on it.
And do you not think that was more 50-50, like both coming towards each other? Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, but is that not 50-50 what we've just seen?
No, I get what you're saying, but the difference was like Yogan's touched the ball to the right-hand side. I think he's getting a shot off. Halkett goes back in the line, which I understand. He might not even score it, but he would have got a shot on target. Is that not why he was given the red? Not because Bruce Anderson's running this way, Butland's coming out.
Final one quickly, please. Together. Final one quick, guys. We need to move on. Go, Michael, quickly.
No, but
let him finish.
I'm throwing it out there is that Jack Butland was carrying a lot more force. It was a dangerous tackle. The ball flicked off him, and I don't think it was a red. But the point is that Yogan, for me, is having to change direction and go in the complete direction away from goal. Two defenders around the ball, and the goalkeeper. He's not carrying any force there. Listen, we agree with the force. We agree with the force.
Yeah, I agree.
Alan and I also agree with Stephen.
Let me just finish quickly. I totally agree with what Mikey's saying. I know I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit. I just feel Yogan would get a shot off. Look, it could have been a rubbish shot. How could have cleared it? Whatever. I just think he would have got a shot.
This is where we say when you talk about a clear goal-scoring opportunity, a lot of it comes down to having a shot at goal. I mean, are you simply just saying that if you kick the ball towards the goal, then that constitutes, that should be a red card?
Well, there was no goalkeeper in the net, so he would have had a pretty good chance. Right, anyway.
No, Darrell.
We need to move on.
No.
Let's get on. We've only got a few minutes left. Let's get on to Aberdeen Rangers. Come back to it next week.
No, Darrell. Yogan is running away from goal. Halkett's on the line. Jamie
he's going to the side, not away.
Just because you can touch the ball, there's the point I'm making in all this is there are so many mitigating circumstances in that. It's an incredibly harsh red.
Alan,
let's agree to disagree and let's move on.
Go on. Let's get Aberdeen Rangers highlights before we run out of time. How excited are you, Alan? Having come, look, that's not
he's excited.
That's not easy venue to go to, Alan.
No,
and I know Aberdeen at the moment are miles off where they should be.
Yeah, I'm definitely in better spirits now than I previously was. As I said before, I've been getting battered from everybody about the situation, but I just feel the game at Ibrox, good result. Rangers look really dangerous from set plays at the moment. I thought Aberdeen on Tuesday offered absolutely nothing. Well, in terms of, yes, they had a couple of opportunities, but overall play, I don't think they were great. Rangers had found it difficult up there for a number of seasons, and I just feel to go up there, this is an absolute goal for me. I don't know what you think, but I just think Fernandez, what a leap. You need to use your arms to get up there, and he's just out-jumped him. I think Mitov's very weak. He actually comes out, and he kind of stutter steps before he tries to jump. Looks really weak. I think it's a goal. But yeah, I just feel Rangers have got momentum. That's 5 in a row now. They're sitting in second place, 3 points above Celtic, 3 off Hearts, points on the board. Things are feeling good. Look, I don't think Rangers are the finished article by any manner of means. I think especially the front players need to offer a lot more, in my opinion. I think defensively they've got a little bit better.
Well, they're adding players. They're adding
2
players,
clean
Alan,
sheets, and because they need to, Darrell. They need to.
Absolutely. You've said that for a long time.
And a number of it, like 1 or 2, I don't think is going to cut it. I think they need more options, especially the forward end of the pitch, centre back, of course, left back. They're trying to bring in, but I just feel that Danny Rule is getting everything out this squad at this moment in time. Yes, they'll need more to help, but like, I worry for Aberdeen. I mean, what's that? Is it 4 or 5 losses in a row? Haven't even scored a goal. I mean, they just look lost.
Marcus Gisdol is the favourite for the job, Michael, and maybe he fits the bill for Lutz Pfannenstiel. Okay, Marcus Gisdol, I'm saying, is the favourite for the job at the moment. Obviously, he's managed a few teams, including Cologne in Germany. He's got a decent stock over there. He's certainly been around the block a bit. It's loads of experience. I wonder if that's the kind of way they'll go. I think somebody like Uwe Rosler, if he wasn't just recently in a job, would also have been perfect for Lutz Pfannenstiel.
Is Lutz going to be his number 2?
Well, yeah, no, you'll go, but you know, look, obviously Lutz has been on the bench, Michael, but we know a lot of the time that happens in Germany. I know a few fans have mentioned that, but look, he's going to be the guy who's going to be charged with helping bring. He's going to be the guy charged with helping bring players in. What I would say is he's not just trying to have a good look at what's around, to be in the dressing room as well a bit so he can find out a bit more about it. It doesn't bother me that much, Michael.
I've never seen a sporting director in the change room.
No,
in my whole career.
Darrell, yeah, I know that it's happened in Germany before. It doesn't happen everywhere in Germany. It doesn't happen in Scotland, which we're in Scotland, and he can be in the changing room if he wants, but he could sit in the stand and still have a look. Like, I just don't think the optics are particularly great. But it's like anything. Because things are not going well at Aberdeen, everything gets scrutinised. The summer window was abysmal. Abysmal. They've put together a squad at huge expense that is not functioning well at all. Lutz came out and said that he'd be looking ideally with somebody with Scottish football experience.
He did.
So, well, we'll wait and see if that rings true or not.
Well, Jens Bertolasco's second, by the way, favourite.
Couple of things on the game. It's a shocking decision against Fernandez. Shocking decision. How the officials can decide that Mitov is penalised. And by the way, I'll remind you, Mitov karate kicked the Hearts striker a few weeks ago and got away with it. Yet Fernandez, who jumps up and doesn't touch his head, doesn't do anything forceful, he's above the keeper. His head is above the keeper's hands. It's not like he moves the keeper's arms out the way and the ball drops down and hits his head and goes in the net. That's not a free kick. No danger. Another one is the penalty that Rangers get is a penalty. But this is where the inconsistency kicks in. How David Dickinson, the referee, can give that as a penalty, which is the right decision, by the way, but not give Fadinger at Ibrox, same referee, is
I agree with that.
Incredible.
I agree.
Both
we spoke about that and we said that was a penalty.
Both those incidents are penalty kicks. But here's the same referee with 2 penalty incidents and not giving one and giving the other. The inconsistency is shocking.
Yeah. Yeah, and listen, on Aberdeen, I think whatever happens, this is a huge decision for the board, of course. They need to try and get this one right because there's a lot of players there, Michael, who've been brought in. I can't get an answer on this. We'll come back to it next week, but there's a lot of players there who've been brought in long contracts. A lot of money has been spent on wages as well, and they look like they've gone so far backwards. And that's the concern for the Aberdeen fans. And Rangers, as I said to you, Alan, looks as if they continue to bring players in with the likes of Sterling and Barron out injured. Andreas Skov-Olsen, they've been linked with for many years, linked again. Right, we're about to go. Just a reminder, game on Wednesday, Falkirk Celtic. Also, all the Scottish Cup to come this weekend as well, including Rangers and I'll just run through the other 2. Hearts against Falkirk on Saturday. Auchinleck Talbot against Celtic as well. That's the quickest promos ever because we're up to an hour. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.